Good evening and welcome to the Little Hut podcast. My name is Kimberly F. Brown with Brown, simply Brown on Cleveland. And tonight we are going into the city of Garfield Heights, and that damn city gave me a darn headache. But of course, before we do that and we talk about what happened this past week, I need to take care of the sponsors. And of course, don't forget that Brown on Cleveland, Little Hut Podcast is being brought to you by Aletha Johnson of the Dream Team Realty. And if you're looking for a single home, condo, or commercial property, call her at 216 375 3681. That's 216 375 3681. And her name is Aletha Johnson, and she's one of our favorite realtors of the Dream Team. Then, of course, there's Flavor Bomb Restaurant. If you're looking for some of the best soul food in the county, go down to see Miss Tiffany. She's located at 3303 East 55th Street off of Broadway and Cleveland Ward 12. And two, don't forget that we have sponsors that's coming in from the concerned citizens of Garfield Heights. After tonight, they may not be a sponsor. Brown, that damn Brown on Cleveland tonight. Now, before we get started, let me do this real quick. I am very fair. Last week, when we talked about Maple Heights and filthy neighborhoods, I need to apologize openly on this podcast to Councilwoman Tony Jones. Last week, I put her on the jackass list, although Tangela Madden ended up being the jackass for Maple Heights. But Tony Jones did respond to the questionnaire. And what happened was her answers went into my junk file, and I found them, and I made good on that when I wrote the article in Newsbreak. So I am fair. Here again, my apologies to Councilwoman Tony Jones, and she actually got a C plus rather than that D that I gave her, Brown on Cleveland. Okay, time to go inside of Garfield Heights. Why don't we do that? Because here we go again. Garfield Heights is in the hot seat tonight. It's about filthy neighborhoods, tall grass, trash, dumps, dirty sewers, negative business districts, dirty business quadrants, the entire 9 yards. And let me say this, Garfield Heights gave me one hell of a headache. But let's go ahead and get down to the get down, because there's a lot of shiggity boo going on in Garfield. And I'm going to tell you this. Well, I'll tell you this when I get to Ward 2. So let's start with Ward 1 in Garfield Heights. Let me say this first. In my opinion, Ward 1 Garfield Heights is the most distressed area in Garfield Heights. I truly believe that this area has been purposely ignored. And I'm going to say that because this area has most brown and black people in that area. And it has been that way for years and years and years. Even when, way back in the day, the people over in that part of Garfield Heights could not attend Garfield Heights school system. Follow me if you will. However, this is 2024. They have a councilwoman. Her name is Stacy Collier. Now, it is true that Stacy Collier, that she inherited a lot of mess in Garfield, Ward 1. However, that does not excuse the look of what Garfield Heights Ward 1 looks like today. So here's what I found. And of course, if you go to my personal page, Kimberly F. Brown, you see all of the videos and all of the pictures. Because I put the videos and the pictures up there because I wanted to make sure that people knew that I was not exaggerating. These photos actually come from the wards of which I traveled. Garfield Heights has about 28,000 residents. and they have 7 council people that make up 7 districts. And Kimberly Brown got one hell of a headache. Brown on Cleveland. So, yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Now, let's get down to Ward 1, Councilwoman Stacey Collier. What I found over there, I found lots of tall grass. I found basketball courts in the middle of the street. That's against the city ordinance. The business quadrant on 131st Street is atrocious. The residents over there tell me that they don't know who the council person is. That was concerning, especially when you're on the street and you have multiple homes with high grass. Now, I need to say this. Let's be clear. The majority of the homes that have high grass are vacant, abandoned homes. But that does not excuse the look, due to the fact that when you have residents on the street who are trying to maintain their property, we ought to be concerned with them, be it that they vote or not. At the end of the day, people are paying their taxes. And as elected officials, when you guys are campaigning, you do not knock on doors telling people, well, I'm not going to service you because you're not a voter, or I'm not going to service you because you don't know my name. At the end of the day, if they live there in your district, they deserve to be serviced. I don't care what nobody say. Brown on Cleveland. So the conditions over in Ward 1, Garfield, not up to par. And because Councilwoman Stacey Collier did not respond to the questions, it is very unfortunate that she's on the jackass list for Garfield Heights. And let me say this to Garfield Heights administrators, because I'm going to say this, but I want to say this first. They went over on a street that I was on, and they called themselves sending a cleaning crew over there to cut the property that I talked about. But here's what they did. They put more trash down than what was there. And the basketball court that was in the middle of the street, they ended up throwing it on the side of the street that impeded parking. And I will put that photo up in a few minutes. Brown, 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 simply brown on Cleveland. Garfield Heights, Ward 1, Councilperson Stacey Collier. It is very unfortunate that you got a D from me today and you're on the jackass list. But before I go to Ward 2, I want to talk to you about the chief of staff over in Garfield Heights. Now, he responded to the questionnaire that I sent. First of all, I have an issue with that. The questionnaire went out to the council people. He's not a council person. He's not. It didn't even go to the mayor. This is about council people who are taking care of their wards. But out of respect, let me tell you what he stated. And his name is Jeffrey M. Jerome. He says, I appreciate you reaching out to our city. Please allow this email to serve as a response to the questions and issues you raised. He says, as an initial matter, the city has multiple programs it uses to combat the issues that were brought up: filthy neighborhoods, trash, tall grass, sewers, etc. He says the city has also contracted with court community services for many years. Well, I hate to tell you this. If they've been out there, they've not been doing a good job. Because 131st is a hot ass mess, and so is Turney. So maybe you need to find somebody else to take care of the contract. Then he said, with respect to grass clipping, I call it shaving. He says the city does not permit clippings to be pushed into the street. Well, if you go over here in Ward 1, where I left, here again, you got more trash down than the trash that was there when I did the video. Brown on Cleveland. Then he says, finally, I'm sorry to hear that a resident believes a person they spoke with on the phone regarding grass cutting was rude. As public servants, we at the city should not portray that image. We will discuss this matter with the employee and ensure that it is resolved. That said, the employee is correct regarding the city's obligation and the amount of work that goes into lot maintenance. Let me say something to you. I don't care about the amount of work, Brown on Cleveland. What I care about is the fact that when people live in anybody's city and they pay their taxes, I don't care how much work you got to do at the city level. The fact of the matter is that all people deserve a quality of life. So if you guys can't figure out how to make this happen, maybe they need to put somebody else in a position to take care of it. Brown, 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 simply Brown on Cleveland inside the little podcast. Now, I appreciate the fact that Jeffrey Jerome reached out to me. He's the chief of staff for Garfield Heights, but I had also had interactions with Mayor Matt Burke. Thank you very much, Mr. Jeffrey Jerome, but everything don't fly with the Kimberly F. Brown inside the Little Hut podcast. Now, let's go to Ward 2. Ward 2 councilwoman is Tanisha Mack. Now, this councilwoman is a tad bit feisty. And I will say she will punch your ass back. Show enough, show enough. So remember when I posted the video and I talked about the first concept of the high grass? And I thought I was in Ward 2, but I wasn't. I was misled by somebody. When I asked what ward I was in, they told me Ward 2, but it was actually Ward 5. So my apologies to Tanisha Mack for that, for getting the ward wrong. However, I still found some stuff in Ward 2 that was not up to par. But I'm going to read to you what Miss Mack wrote to me. But still, in Ward 2, I found mattresses where somebody's beginning to dump, tall grass, dirty sewers, just simply filth. And not only on abandoned property, but also on vacant land. And I do understand this fact, and I will say this. It's not all on council people, but you guys are the overseers. Residents are also responsible. It's like this. If you see something, say something. If you see paper on the ground and you're a resident and you're concerned about the cleanliness of your community, why not just pick it up? Go get a broom and sweep it up. Help. But also, to out of fairness, let me say this. Residents have told me that they have called that number, the hotline number regarding grass, and most of the time they get voicemail after voicemail after voicemail. So they can't even talk to a real person. And then when they do talk to a real person, they get a bad attitude. Here again, people are paying your salary and we got to treat them better. But I sent all of the council people an email regarding basic questions, and 3 of them responded. And Ms. Mack was one. Also in my email, I stated, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, or even any sarcasm, let me know. Write it down. Well, Ms. Mack was the only person who wrote her comments to me, and I'm going to read them as I promised. Listen, don't hurt me. I can care less. Don't care, but I am fair. This comes from Councilwoman Tanisha Mack. It says, in the future, before being loud and wrong, y'all know I made them videos. She said I was loud and wrong. I said, no, I was loud and right. But this is what she say. She says, in the future, before being loud and wrong, be loud and right the first time. Okay, I take that. The reason I addressed the video was that it seemed like you had a personal problem with me. And if you do, that's fine. All right, Jazzy. My issue is that I was the only council person named. You seem focused on saying, of course, the councilwoman name is Tanisha Mack. That was wild behavior, considering you weren't even in my ward. Nope, sure wasn't. I was 2 streets away from your ward. I was misled, but there's no excuse because I should have done my own homework. She says, I'm curious as to why my name was stated and not anyone's else. It definitely was intentional, but hey, that's okay with me. So let me address that right quick. That was the first video that we made. We thought we were in District 2 and not 5. But the other thing, Councilwoman Mack, what you don't understand is this. You are the safety chair of the city. I hold you to a higher standard. When a neighborhood is filthy, it's still a safety issue, just in case you don't know that. I'm quite sure you do. So even by us being in the wrong area, that house is still a safety issue. Tall grass, you don't know what's inside that tall grass. But what I do know is this. It's a safety hazard and it's an environmental hazard. And it boils down to a safety issue. Your safety chair, I am going to hold you to a higher standard than anybody else. That is one of the most important jobs being on council, on that particular committee, besides the finance committee. So you took that position and I am holding you accountable. But at the same time, when you corrected that video and you told me, hey, that's not me, the first thing I did was what? I shot you an email. I shot you a comment back on Facebook and I said, hey, I corrected it. That video came down and we posted up another one that said Ward 5. Brown, 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 simply brown on Cleveland. I don't get into personals. I get into professionals. You are a councilwoman and I am going to hold you to it. But I do impress you. I do appreciate the fact that you did punch me back and your comments were valid. But then too, she went on to talk about, I thought was pretty cool. She talked about, the grass cutting hotline and she gave the number. And just in case you guys are in Garfield Heights, let me say it to you. It's 216-475-7776, 216-475-7776. And if you can't get through on a hotline, please reach out to your councilwoman, Tanisha Mack, and she will take care of you because she let me know she's one damn good councilwoman, and we're going to hold her to that. Show enough, show enough. All right. And also, too, one other thing is this. She talked to the residents about, picking up after yourselves and not throwing trash down. And here again, you see something, say something. Just help her take care of the neighborhoods. And she did tell me this. She said, in the future, she's talking to me now. She says, when you drive streets in Ward 2, help me by talking to the neighbors about lawn upkeep or report them to the grass cutting hotline. She says, I would certainly appreciate it. And Ms. Mack, again, hey, listen, I appreciate you sending this. I appreciate you responding to the questions. And as I stated in the email, we are going to drop 10,000 Brown Report newspapers. And the reason why I wanted you guys to respond, because I'm going to put this in writing for your residents as we drop these papers so they know exactly where you stand and whether or not you are a responsive council person. And I appreciate it. Thank you so much. But Tanisha Mack, her grade from us is a C+. Let's go to Ward 3. Ward 3 now is one hot ass mess. It is. The council person, his name is Mark Smith. Now, he's a pastor. Now, don't blame me for this, all right? Because this is just what he is. Now, maybe he thought that by that word being so nasty, I mean it's nasty. It's a hot ass, nasty, funky mess. Maybe he thought if he was clap his hand, Jesus was going to come and take the trash away. No such a thing, no such a thing, no such a thing, no such a thing. Cleanliness is godliness. Godliness is cleanliness. If nothing else, Ward 3 should have been spick and span and it looked like a hot ass frying pan. Point blank, period. I am not happy. And then when you go to the business section of Garfield Heights Ward 3, trash, 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 and more trash. That's all I got to say. Mark Smith got a straight out F, 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 F minus. Don't care. He's definitely on the jackass runner-up list for Garfield Heights. Yes, he is. And yes, I said it. Brown on Cleveland. Let's go ahead to Garfield Ward 4. Now, this is not a hot ass mess. This is just a mess. It's just a mess. Now, this ward is led by the council president. And that disturbs me. His name is Avery Johnson, right? High grass. The sewers are a mess. He got shopping carts and vacant lots, vacant property. Bushes are out of control, totally out of control. And what y'all don't understand is that bushes are a safety hazard. If people can't see over the bushes or in between the bushes, they're liable to become injured. Criminal elements, they have a tendency to hide behind bushes and jack people. I don't care if they rob them or they carjack their cars. You can't see these people. And as the council president, it would be my hope that he would take the initiative, go to the city, talk to Mayor Burke and say, listen, Mayor, we got to get these things done. And then let's go to the business quadrant, the part that's shared on Turney with Ward 3. It is nasty, funky. I had a man standing at the bus stop. I'm videotaping, and he inserts himself in my video and start talking about the filth. He lives in Oakwood, but his niece and nephew stays in Garfield. And he's at the bus stop and he has to see this? No, man, come on, y'all. Come on. Garfield, you better than this. But Avery Johnson, I don't know what to say. I got to put you on the Jackass Award, and all I'm gonna say is this: you just get an F. You just get an F. I know, but he just gotta get an F. Let's go to Ward 5. Ward 5 is Councilwoman Rachel Tongson. Now, oh man, this was the first house that we videotaped. This is the one that Councilwoman Mack was talking about. It was just a hot mess. The lady next door, her daughter graduated and she had a prom. And she had been calling the city not once, not twice, not three, but 4 times. And she could not get through because she kept getting this voicemail. And when her daughter was all dressed up in her gown and her boyfriend came to pick her up, they had to position their cameras. So therefore, this nasty vacant property would not be in the pictures. Now, this is one of the most important days of a teenager's life. And Garfield Heights, Ward 5, council person, you failed her. You failed her. Mom and dad didn't want to see that. So what they told me is this. They said, you know what, Ms. Brown, if you can get that grass cut, we'll maintain it. Thank God today it was cut. And I believe it was cut because I had an interaction with Mayor Burke. And I appreciate Mayor Burke for taking care of it. But this is why it is important to walk your wards. And the other thing I found in Ward 5 was that a lot of signs in Ward 5, you don't even know what the signs say. And let me say this, it's the same thing in Ward 3. And going back to Ward 3, you tell me this, why did Ward 3 have a sign, one of those no parking signs on the side of the road impeding traffic, face down? That dude, listen, Mark Smith, y'all council person, he don't walk them streets. Y'all should have kept Jason Seethers, because I don't know if it would have been better, but I know one thing is worse. And it's a hot ass mess over there. But also too, Ward 5, I ain't happy with her. And she didn't respond to the questionnaire. So it's very unfortunate. Guess what? She got to get an F as well. I don't play favorites. I'm very fair. You don't respond, you run, that takes your grade all the way down. It's almost like you go to class, right? You ain't been in school all week. Teacher got a quiz on Friday, and you think you're going to pass it. You are not the smartest kid in the store. You might be the loudest kid in the candy store, but you ain't the smartest one. Point blank, period. You ain't always got to do that. So you don't show up for the test. There's no one in the world I can give you a grade, so you get an F. Now, let's go to how much time I got, because I can't be with you too long. All right, here we go. Let's go to Ward 6. Ward 6 is Cliff Kelly. Now, problem I have with Mr. Kelly is this. There's a street sign over on Oakview that's covered up by the trees. Councilman, come on, get the city to cut it so people can see. I'm driving around. I can't even figure out what street I'm on. I don't want to get punched in the eye the way Councilwoman Mack punched me in the eye. I'm on the wrong street. then I'm gonna say you in somebody's ward, then you're gonna write me one of these little jazzy emails that I asked for anyway. So it don't matter, right? But come on, get it together. Then I found homes with tall grass, of course, sewers messed up, didn't make no sense. I found multiple homes on one street that the residents of Oakview, they was complaining about. Ooh, they were so mad at you, sir. You better make amends over on Oakview because they may gun for you, council person. But I see today that you took care of those homes, and I'm glad you took care of those homes, and you took care of those homes immediately. But just like you took care of those homes today, listen, I know you probably called the city and was like, I don't want that smoke from, the Lil Hut podcast. I don't want that smoke from Brown. I really don't. But the same aggressive tactic that you use to take care of those homes, use the same aggressive tactic to take care of the rest of them homes. And I kid you not, everything will be fine over there in Ward 6. So because of that, Councilperson Kelly, I had to give you a C minus, but at least you got something. Amen. And then last but not least, we got Ward 7. We got Jennifer Neurons. Yep, we do. And, she had an eyesore over on Turney Road. Now, Turney Road is a pretty nice street. It's connected to Maple Heights, but she had an eyesore, right? The home is abandoned, grass high. I got to be fair. I had to call her out on that. But the city took care of that today. But one thing I did find today, and I was very, 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 very impressed. I went down the street called Carpenter. This street is like the model street for Garfield Heights. Every single council person should walk down that street and use that as a model street because that's the way I remember Garfield Heights when I was a little girl growing up. I'm talking about the homes are manicured. The vacant lot is manicured. I mean, Carpenter is so manicured that if you go into them little, I call it the little woods, you can't even find trash. And the way they trim the bushes back from the sidewalk, man, it's just beautiful. So, hey, you know what? That gave me the 2 thumbs up on Garfield Heights because at first, I just wasn't going to come back. I was just going to talk about y'all like, to no return. But there's hope there. I just hope, again, that the same aggressive behavior, the same assertive behavior, the ones of you guys who responded, you make sure that your stuff was taken care of, and you did. But you know what? Jennifer Neuron, new council person, I got to give her a B minus, and I believe that's fair because she's new in the game, but she's paying attention to what's going on. But I'm going to give her this tidbit. You got that Valley View apartment. I know that's private, but you need to check that because the homes behind that and the other apartment buildings, very, very clean. But I do know that Valley View apartment, I think I'm naming that correct. I know that's been a problem for the entire Garfield Heights, but y'all need to get a handle on that. But that's my spiel on Garfield Heights. Now, listen, Garfield, we've done North Randall, we've done Warrensville, we know Cleveland nasty. Cleveland is a hot ass mess, right? People telling me to go to East Cleveland. Now, y'all already know what I'm gonna find in East Cleveland. I'm gonna find dead bodies in East Cleveland, right? And we've been in Garfield. So don't worry about it, because right now we got people talking and they laughing. They can do that all day long. But guess what? Because next we going to Highland Hills next week. Then we going to Beechwood. Damn right. I don't care nothing about it. Don't let me find something in Beechwood because there's going to be trouble. And then we going to Richmond Heights. We're completing our series. We're going to do about 10 to 15 cities. Then we're going to come back and review the cities. And I'm going to drop them Brown Report newspapers. I kid you not. And you can look out for this story up in Newsbreak because I'm going to talk about it. But those council people who responded, Councilwoman Mack, Councilperson Clifford Kelly, and Councilwoman Neuron, hey, I appreciate you. Everybody else is on the jackass list. And as we have our jackass ceremony come next month, one of them will be the jackass of Garfield Heights. Show enough. So, hey, I got to tell you guys something. Hey, listen, it's about time for me to get up out of here. I tried not to be no more than 30 minutes. Don't forget the rebroadcast of this show will happen at 12 o'clock Sunday midnight. You can check me out on my YouTube channel. That's Brown on Cleveland, right? Little Hut Podcast. We got almost 1 million subscribers. Not really. We got like 587 and it's growing. But as always, like I say, I had a good time with you today. You guys have a great Memorial Day and please be safe. Now, I know you don't like me and I am okay with it. because 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, I don't like you either. And that's what we have in common. So do me a favor, listen, see something, say something, call me if you need me, or reach out to me and just say, hey, Brown on Cleveland, Lil Hut Podcast, use something else. Or you can just punch me in the eye like the councilwoman did. I ain't gonna get mad. It is what it is. Fair is fair in love and war, or hate and hate. Anyway, my name is Kimberly F. Brown. You guys have a great evening. I gotta go.